this is a thing that they've heard on podcasts, and everybody's just jumped on the bandwagon. This style of play, style of play. Honest to God, we had a style of play the game before last where we smashed 6 goals in, looked good, looked like we had a style of play, and then all of a sudden we get pumped. After we're biggest rivals, and everybody's just like panic button, style of play. Somebody said that sounds brilliant. Let's jump on that. Style of play. 4-2-3-1's our style of play. That's his formation. That's the way he wants to play. There's different ways you can play in that formation, but I can't get my head around what are we actually talking about your style of play. Can anybody talk to me about what are they looking for? What is everybody that's saying, I can't see a style of play, what are they looking for? I'm trying to understand. For me, I know the formation. I know what he's trying to do. The fact that Celtic didn't let us play that formation doesn't mean we've not got a style of play. It just means that we're unravelled because we get better for Celtic. Lots of players never played together. Lots of players in that team never played in that environment. I think that's what's happened. They fell apart. They unravelled. Listen, understand we're not happy. I'm not happy. I'm looking for answers. But this whole style of play thing, everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon. I understand. Some people actually do know what they're talking about, but the majority have just heard this statement and thought, do you know what? That sounds great. That sounds like something else I can beat the team up with. So let's just use that style of play push. For me, listen, you either know what you're talking about. Don't just use it as an excuse to beat up the team, as far as I'm concerned. They never done well. They get pumped. They've got a lot of questions to answer, but don't fucking style of play. I mean, tell me this: what was Walter Smith's style of play? If we're talking about style of play, 3 years, I'll ask you 3 years the same question. What was Walter Smith's style of play?
Sign better players than Celtic.
Yeah, but what was his style of play? Can any of you tell me?
Sort of sit back, try and just get a goal, defend for your life.
Right,
and
so
make a 72nd minute substitution every week.
Right, so as it stands at the minute, we're all struggling, right? But all of a sudden, style of play. We can't see a
but it's a totally different game than what it was when Walter Smith was a manager. Completely different.
You're right. I think you're right, Mark.
Style of play's rule football now.
I know. Don't get me wrong. Listen, guys, I'm being a wee bit tongue in cheek here. Obviously, I'm kind of going overboard because it annoys me a wee bit. I get what most people are saying, and I understand roughly what they're trying to say. But let's put it to bed. Style of play thing.
Yeah.
Let's give him a chance to get his players. I mean, the only player that I'm excited about, I don't for. A month ago, I didn't know anything about. Didn't know his name. Never heard of him. And now I'm pinning every single hope I've got for the season on the boy, and I've still not seen him play yet. It's Barami. So,
do
you know what I mean? And we're all the same. All of a sudden, this boy never kicked a ball for us, but is going to be an absolute superstar. And I've got every hope and everything that he's going to be the second coming of Brian Laudrup.
Well, that's one of the podcasts I watched, Martin. Your interview with the chap from, is it Alb Football or something? He called himself. Albanian football. That would make sense. And would you call it? He seemed to talk up Bajrami quite a lot, to the point where he said it was the start.
Rami. The Jai's a Y.
Right, okay. Look at you, all Albanian stuff. Exactly.
I know.
So he seemed to talk him up. He went as far as to say, Mark Lewis, I don't know if you heard this, but he went as far as to say he was the star of the international team. Martin, didn't he?
Yes.
So, do you know what I mean? If that, that's kind of something. And he's an attacking midfielder. I mean, bloody hell. It's not like we don't need one of them, you know. So, but going back to Mark's point about the 4-2-3-1, that is what Clement plays. And you're right, everything seems worse after getting pumped off Celtic. It absolutely does. So the news about Tav, the news about Danilo, the news about Matondo is all taken, and then it comes down on his tenfold compared to normal. But what I will say, a wee caveat around that about Clement, and that I've not worried much about what he's said and done up until this point. When it wasn't going well against Celtic, Mark, I didn't see a change in strategy. That's what I was a wee bit concerned about that. I didn't quite understand what he was doing, because you saw the areas in the pitch that were really suffering. Now, there's a whole other argument. Maybe we don't have the personnel. you know, because that would be fair, you know. But I was just kind of worried about, well, you can see we're not at the races here. Lee McGregor's running the show in the middle of the park again. There's a big disconnect between Barn and Diamandi, like we kind of suspected there might be, but obviously you get away with it against Ross County. But I'm not sure. I think it's too early just now to go in with 2 feet on in Clermont. You know what I mean? But I certainly the substitutions and the replacement and the change of strategy. Everybody's talking about this strategy. I didn't see it when we were floundering.
Lewis, you are probably a bit like myself, although I tend to keep it to myself. But you're quite an emotional guy. You take your football very, very serious. You're of a younger generation, so you've probably grown up
steady on
a lot. Just don't be jealous, Ian. Don't be jealous.
I know.
You've probably grown up in this era of formations and tactics and stuff like that. So, like, genuinely, from your point of view, when people talk about Clermont style of play, does that worry you? Or are you a bit like Mark or Ian? Do you, once in the cold light of day, go, it's not really that important? Where do you stand on it?
Well, I was listening to Mark at the start there, and I think he's half right, in my opinion, and half wrong. I think, you know, the big problem with Clermont is that you can't see a style of play, but I would argue that the 3 previous Rangers managers, whether the style of play worked or no, you knew what they were trying to do. So for Gerrard, for example, right, it was clear that the width came for the fullbacks and he would play 2 inverted 10s, and it would be high pressing, high energy attacking football. That's how Steven Gerrard played. And you go into Gio and it's much slower, it's much more methodic, it's about controlled possession, it's about passing teams to death, almost trying to create the perfect goal. But then you go into Michael Beale, his style of play completely failed, but again, you still seen what he was trying to do. He completely got rid of width other than the 2 fullbacks, and he tried to play a diamond way, just overloading the centre of the pitch, and it was about playing through the middle unless you use the width for the fullbacks. See, with Philip Clermont, the only thing I've seen is that we try route one football. There's no other system or style or tactic that I'm able to identify when this Rangers team play, and I would argue that despite all the variables you put into it, whether he's not got the personnel, the financial troubles at the club, all the external issues, he should still have something that anybody with a brain can look and go, that's how Rangers play. And there isn't. I think a lot of the performances that we have, like the 6-0 against Ross County, it actually just comes with players getting into the final third and using their individual talent or individual ability to make something happen, rather than the manager doing it himself. Because we look at the squad and there isn't a lot of individual talent in it. So we need a good manager. We need somebody to start improving and developing these players. And that's like, you look at, again, the most recent case study, Steven Gerrard was able to do it. So surely a guy much more experienced, much more, much better track record than Philippe Clermont should be able to do that. And I just cannot see how we are going to play going forward. I've never ever been able to identify it.
And again, I suppose this one that comes up, Mark, if we're not winning games, if we're not winning cups, if we're not winning leagues, like you say, in Walter's day, it didn't matter how we played as long as we won. And I suppose it's still the same, it doesn't. Technically, it doesn't matter how you play if you're winning, but we're not.
No, I get that 100%. I get that, and for me, just to kind of, I understand, because we put that at Beale's door, that nobody knew what his style of play was. I heard that a lot under Beale. For me, if you're talking about style of play, I know that it's probably not as prominent because I think that he's struggling to get his own players in. So you're probably not going to know. And he's come out and told you. He's come out and told you in press conferences, this team is nowhere near ready. You need another couple of months before you'll see the best of this team. But for me, I know that you're saying that we don't see anything, but for me, you can certainly see that we're playing with inverted fullbacks. Tav's coming in the pitch a hell of a lot more coming into the midfield. Same when Ridvan was playing. Ridvan's coming into the centre of the park. Yeah. So that's something that you're seeing as a formation and as a tactic. Your 2 wide players are staying wide. Touchline wide. Yeah. So that there again, there's another tactic. There's a formation, a style of play that you're going to play with wide players and inverted fullbacks. Granted, it's nowhere near the finished article. Granted, from the naked eye or even the untrained eye, so to speak, that you just think that people are just all run about like a headless chicken. And to be fair, at some points, because it's been a massive change, trying to change personnel and formation and tactics all in a one time, that it's going to look disjointed for a while. It really is. And listen, I hope, and I don't mean this in a bad way, Lewis, but I hope that it gets proven wrong, and all of a sudden we do see this so-called style of play, and we do see things changing, and it all starting to work and gel together.
We just want to start winning now in big games.
But as I said, it's something that we're going to need to. I don't think we've got any other option. We're going to need to give this time. I think that for me as well, we've got an inferior squad than we did have. I think that we're hoping to bring the best out of players that we've brought in, rather than bring players. And I think, to be fair, that was always going to be the case. I think that we're trying to nurture and build players and bring players on so that we can sell them on. And I think that's with that, you're going to need to have this side of this kind of, I hate to call it a project, but this side of that kind of thing, that kind of project, or the start of this season, is you're going to get inconsistency, you're going to get disjointedness, you're going to get players. And listen, as Rangers fans, that's not acceptable to us. It's as simple as that. But this is where we're at. Simple as that. And I think that probably we could have done with the first Old Firm of the season being another month or 2 months in the future, rather than having it then, because it's no helped them, and it's no helped the feeling of the fan base, because we're all raging because we had a shite transfer window. We've been knocked out of Europe, and all of a sudden we've been not just beat, we've been pumped, and we've been pumped badly. And do you know what my thought process was watching it, and obviously listening to the fallout and stuff like that, and everybody ranting and raving, which everybody's entitled to their rant and a rave, 100%.
There's nothing better than a good rant.
Yes, but we've seen better teams, a lot better teams than us, come to Ibrox and fall apart the way we fell apart at Parkhead. Dortmund fell apart at Ibrox in stages for long parts of that game when we tore them apart. Even over there, we've seen them fall apart. But big crowds, team with a tail up, RB as well, done the exact same. When we played them, we bet them tails up, crowd behind them, and stuff like that. So better teams than us have fell apart under those circumstances. But back to the moment, the thing that we're talking about, that for me there is a slight jink of style of play. But as I said, everybody's entitled to their opinion.